G'day, I'm Chris. Welcome back to the shed. Flat Tank Friday number 12. It's been 3 months. Time's gone quickly and in some respects it doesn't feel like I've got a lot done. Made a few videos and that's been okay, and thanks to those who are watching and thanks to those who've liked, subscribed or commented, which is always really cool. The positive comments mean a lot to me. Hey, this week got a bit of a mixed bag for stuff. No bike riding this week, sadly. Just been a bit busy. Got some work on the carburettor from the AJS, and it's actually about a week old, the work I did, but it's pretty cool and it kind of transformed the bike, so I'm really pleased to show you that. And got a tip that I got from a carburettor specialist at the Bendigo swap meet, so that's cool. Also back working on the Douglas. I sent the seat away to be reupholstered, and that's really cool. And then I've been working on the carburettor, and we're going to have a look at that while I do a bit. I'll confess I was naughty and was doing a bit of something without showing you. So let's have a look at what I've been up to. I'm trying to make a fuel line, and it sounds really simple, but it just wasn't. This is the nut and tail, or that's what I call them, off the bottom of the fuel tank, off the bottom of the fuel tap. It relatively innocuous and screws up, and it was with the bike when I got it, or if it wasn't, I had it in stock. Bottom of the carburettor was another whole kettle of fish. Weird size, and I'd measured it at just over 14 mil, like nothing over 14 mil, which kind of measures to maybe it's 9/16, maybe, or maybe it's 14 mil, because it's not 9/16, it's actually a little bit bigger. It's a very fine thread. There's only 5 turns of the thread. It measures about 1 mil pitch. It could be 9/16 and a really odd size, or it could be 14 mil. I easily can access a 14 by 1 tap, so I made a blank to screw over, and I'm going to get a 14 by 1 tap and see what that does. If there's an expert out there that can tell me that's whatever it is, then that's really cool. And if it's not 14 by 1, well, that's okay. I had a bit of brass hex bar stock, and it's got a 10 mil hole in the middle to take the tail. It's got a 1/2 inch hole down the centre that's left a taper on the bottom for the tail to seat into and to tap a 14 mil thread into. I've just lightly chamfered the corners, and that was really easy. And that came up good. I have a little bit of copper tubing in stock, so that was good. And it's always difficult to get 2 different size nuts and tails, or in this case 2 different size tails, to work out. For some reason I've had a thick walled tail that'll take 1/4 inch inside, and that was really easy. And then the tail from the fuel tank end, well, I just ran a 1/4 inch drill bit into it, and I'm going to silver solder all that together. So that's turned out okay. I still haven't actually resolved whether it's an odd thread or whether it's 14 by 1. I suppose 14 by 1 would be odd in itself. But anyway, I've got a tap coming, a bottoming tap and an intermediate tap, that I should be able to run down that and get the 4 or 5 turns, and we'll see if it all works out. In the meantime though, need to make a fuel pipe. Gonna run it, sorry, you might have gone out of shot. Gonna run it down, put 2 or 3 turns in it, down a bit further, and then it'll come across to the fuel bowl. Interesting when you look at fuel bowls for Douglases online. It can go either way by the look of it. You can just turn it round on the manifold. It can have the bowl to the front and the control cables to the back, or vice versa. You don't turn the manifold, but you turn the carby round, and the bowl can be to the back and the controls can be to the front. I've seen a lot of different images on Google Images of various Douglases in around the era of mine, and some have the bowls to the back and some have the bowls to the front. So it's a bit weird. I'm probably going to leave mine the way it was, and mine has the controls to the back. My logic is there's a nice loop of the cable to come in. You don't end up with a weird down cable. For some reason I think that might look better. It does require the fuel line to come across and up and under. So that'll be okay. I'm going to try and form this copper tubing around a mould I've got and see if I can get that to come into a nice little pattern. I'll bring you along for the ride if I can. Cheers. Alright, here goes attempt number 1. I don't know whether you're going to see this or not, but I'm going to try and do it. This pipe is relatively soft. I don't want to kink it, but I also don't want to heat it. It's a nice gentle bend. Yep, and that's bending without flattening out the pipe. I'll bring you along for the ride a bit further as I go, because I need to be where you are. Bring you back in a minute. Right, I'm coming up on 2 turns and the pipe's shortened up a little bit, so I brought you back. I really am just using brute strength and stupidity, I suppose. There's no great science to this. Maybe that's 1.5 inch pipe. I'm just pulling this tight, trying to keep it round until I think I've gone far enough. I'd already scrubbed the pipe with, just going to give that a tighten up, with some industrial Scotch-Brite, and now I'm coming up on far enough, I think. So I'm going to try and get that off the pipe now without making a mess. I think I am making a mess. Looks like somebody like me had used the pipe for something else at some stage. Alright, bit like making a still, I suppose. There's the 3 turns of pipe. I'm going to stretch those out a little bit, because of course the purpose of the pipe is to allow the fuel pipe to vibrate and flex. So rather than breaking the connections, it just lets the pipe spring a little bit. Well, that's my understanding of how it works. I'll bring it back when I've flexed that out a little bit. Okay, I've just levered that out with a screwdriver, to be honest. Trying to get it even, trying to get it to look okay. And now I'm trying to get, this will be the outlet of the fuel tank, I'm trying to get that in about the middle. But it is putting up a bit of a fight. So I'm just going to keep working away at that. I'm trying not to mark the copper pipe because I'd like to nickel plate it later. But I mean, copper's pretty soft, so you can polish out mild imperfections. Other than that, the 3 turns are pretty good, pretty consistent, and I'll bring you back when I've made a bit more progress. Other than that, it's come along all right. Here's the fuel pipe. It's just come up pretty well. I'm actually really pleased with it. It didn't take long. It was a job I was kind of avoiding. The nuts just slid down off the tail. I just pressed the tail on. It's cleaned up really well. I didn't make much of a mark on it. I'll give it a bit of a polish. It comes straight down from the fuel tank and I can cut that to whatever length I want. 3 turns seems nice looking. They've formed up pretty well and leave it apart with the screwdriver. A few little marks in them. And then of course I've got lots of pipe left to, in theory, something like that on the bike come across to the bottom of the fuel bowl. I can spin the carby round and have the fuel bowl on this side if I want, but I'm not sure. As I said before, I think for some reason the cable's running around in a gentle loop seems to suit me best. I've got a tap coming for this nut to tap that and hope that I'm
correct with that thread. It measures just over 14 mil, like 14.03 or 4, and it measures 1 mil. But there is only 4 or 5 turns of thread to measure, and you can get odd measurements of thread in a 1 mil pitch or in very small pitches with only short amounts of thread to measure. Bring along for the ride, and if we get a bit more done, that'll be cool, and if not, this is where we're at. Well, here's the fuel pipe. It's just mocked up, it's just sitting there, so if it drops out while I'm talking, no stress. I'm really happy with the way it goes up to the fuel tap. That's come up really well. The 3 turns, yep, they look good. It comes out the bottom and it's okay. Then to get underneath the line of the bowl, it needs to go down a fair way. It does then need to sit really close to the drive pulley. I'm not sure I'm completely happy about that. However, the pipe needs to get to about, well, that low so that it can go into the bottom of the fuel bowl. So it has to get that low at some point. I think probably barrels on, manifold on, and carby rigidly mounted, and get a bit of a look at it. But I'm really happy with the fuel pipe at this point. It was scrap copper tubing that I had left from previous projects. I like copper fuel pipes and copper lines. They look good. I always get them nickel plated or chrome plated, but nickel in this case. For a piece of scrap that I've just been up in the shed in the afternoon, I think that's a really good outcome. I'm really happy with it. Well, Flat Tank Friday's gone pretty long this week, so I've decided to chunk it into 2 smaller parts. Seems not many people like to watch the long videos. So this is Flat Tank Friday, part 1, come to an end. Really happy with what I've done. Only small jobs, but take a bit of time. The bike, the Douglas, it's making good progress and I'm pretty pleased with it, so you've got to be happy about that. My tap's on the way to tap this thread, and that'll be good. And my piston rings have just arrived in the mail. Well, just arrived today. It's actually Friday morning here and it's really hot. It's going to be about 35 to 38 degrees, and for you folks somewhere else that do the weird Fahrenheit, coming up on 100 degrees. So pretty hot. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the video and look out for part 2. Cheers.